Hello, and welcome back to 100% or Nothing Motivation Podcast. It's a big one. We don't see a lot of him on socials as much as we'd like. Certainly doesn't turn up for podcasts, but we have none other than Sas joining us, the human cloud who broke the internet with many a picture on Instagram. He is here to share wisdom and some banter, hopefully. And to top it off, we've got Hollinshead as well. He couldn't
Yeah,
pass it up.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So they said three
British
was a
invasion.
crowd. Bollocks.
Let's try
Five's
five.
not a crowd. This is probably the one podcast where I'm not going to talk as much.
Lots of listening.
And so, yeah, Sas, thanks for coming on.
Thank you
And I
very much for
suppose
having me. Thank
the
you.
big question is, for those who don't know Sas, because you have been off the radar a little bit, haven't you? You came up, and anyone who was like into bodybuilding properly not that long ago, but we might have some new school viewers might even not know.
Yep.
But you stepped away from stage, and now you're back with a vengeance. So I suppose the question that I wanted to kick things off is, what made you come back?
So it's a long story. I'll keep it as short as I can. So initially, there was a few reasons why I stopped, which is going to lead to the reasons I come back. Main thing was I wasn't enjoying it as much. I wasn't happy with the focus I had wasn't where it was at the beginning of my career. I think I was just expecting, I was losing that passion. So I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it for maybe sponsorships or a win or get to the Olympia, which is all great, but that wasn't why I started this journey. It was all about, I loved it. I loved the training. I loved the dieting. I loved the regimen, the structure. And that led itself onto a pro career. And somewhere along the lines, it just got a little bit blurry as to why I was doing it. I think I went from an amateur to a pro very, very fast. And I went from a pro to almost winning a pro show quite fast. So I didn't have time to really let it mature and sink in. So I think I lost focus in that sense. And at the same time, me and Leanne were talking about starting a family. And at the same time, I was relying on sponsors to pay the bills at the time. I was in the family business as well, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I thought I need to step back so I can just make sure I've got everything in place. I needed to stand on my own 2 feet, so to speak, get an income, start a family, and that wasn't happening while I was trying to focus on winning pro shows. Because I wasn't your mass monster, and I wasn't your crazy kind of Nathan with the small waist and the muscle bellies, and or Luke with his size and structure. I was kind of always, I didn't have flaws, but I was always in the middle where, yeah, I didn't lose any shots, but I also didn't stand out in the crowd too much. So I wasn't really getting the traction I thought I would get. So I decided to just step back, start the coaching, try for a family, and focus on my health because I hadn't really had a break for a good while. And that kind of lent itself to a possible early retirement. But I also, funny enough, I remember me and James spoke multiple times along the way, but it was like 2 years into my semi-retirement, James messaged me and said, I know you'll be back. It's just one of those things. And I didn't know at the time. So as the years went, I started to miss it, and I kept training because I loved it. So I never stopped training. I just didn't push it to the extreme. I followed the sport. I was obviously coaching a lot of guys over the years. And the more I coached and the more I kind of stepped back and just watched, I started to get that passion back. I started to realize that this is something that, without sounding cringy, this is something that I think I was born to do. I had a genetic talent for it, and the passion was just coming really fast. So then it got to the point where I said to Leanne, I said, you know what, I've got the coaching, we've got the family, and I think a comeback now would only supplement those things. So the focus went from being the best pro I could be to how can I be a better coach, and also how can I continue this passion. So it just made sense to do a comeback show and see how it went, see how my body's aged, over the 6 years, so I didn't really have expectations to be in any bigger or better than I was 6 years ago. But as I'm getting closer to the show, I think everything's pointing to the green ticks. My physique has matured. My metabolism is better. My health is really good. My focus is better than ever. And I'm coaching myself, which was scary at first, but it was kind of the missing piece to my puzzle. I've always admired, Dorian, Sean Ray, Justin Compton, Juan Morel, all these guys who coach themselves. I always kind of admired that. And I thought, I think I need to take that step to actually grow myself as a coach as well. To be on my own schedule, my own decision making, and more trial and error, even if it was the wrong choice. So here I am. I'm happy. I think I'm better than ever in a lot of ways, but I'll decide that fully once I've been on stage and I see the pictures next to the big boys.
I
Well,
love listening to Sas talk.
I can ramble on.
everyone was hoping it was happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, I for one am really glad that it is, and it looks fucking serious.
Thank you.
That's all I can say.
Actually, Sas, how old are you now, Sas?
I'm 39 in October. So
That's still peak. That's still
Babby.
peak.
The baby, innit?
Yeah,
The baby.
That's still peak. Yeah.
that's peak Persian. He's got another 7-8 years.
I was unsure because I've had a lot of joint pain in the last few years, but I think getting into the flow of prep, just the food, the sleep, the recovery, I feel better than ever, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've actually got less pain than I did 6 years ago. And I know my metabolism hasn't slowed down, which I know can do sometimes. And my physique hasn't lost detail from front to back, from what I can see, which
More.
it might have lost. I think I've lost some flare in my lats, maybe, but I'm sure I can get that back with an off season because I haven't really pushed the boundaries for a while. So
It's funny actually because if a couple of the questions that we got through DMing on the page was like kind of age related as well. I think people think you're a little bit older than you are, not because you look at Sas, just because you've been away for so long.
Yeah.
But one of the questions was actually, let me have a look. I've got my massive text here because I am blind. Do you still push the food as hard in the off season now you're a little bit older and stuff? Is that like because you were renowned for like big cheat meals and you just mentioned your metabolism just there before, didn't you? So do you still push the food real high, Sas?
So I haven't had an off season like that since I last competed because I haven't had the need to push my body weight up that far. But for reference to the cheat meals, I always started my off seasons quite just like everyone else. I pushed the clean food first. But with me, it always got to the point where I had to top up. I'd like to top up with fun food, so to speak. So it came with off season. I like to have fun. Like I switched off in a lot of ways. For me, it was I needed a kind of a differentiate between off season and prep. That's just how I ticked. That's how I responded. That's how my body grew and how my body got lean. It liked to see a difference. I know it might not make sense scientifically, but so I will always push what I need to do. But in that time frame, 6 years ago, it was bringing in cheat meals. But the 80% of my food was still clean. It was still the nutritionally rich choices. But for me to get my body weight to that point where I was at my strongest and my fullest, I had to top up with a couple of thousand calories of burger and fries or ice cream, and I had fun doing it. When I have fun doing something, I always do it a little bit better.
Dude,
yeah,
so true. Like I won't stop because you're mid-flow, but I can so agree with that. And people used to ask similar things with how I would approach things, and I always felt that like you said, there has to be this differentiation between that locked-in prep feeling and some sort of leeway in the off season, so that, like you say, you enjoy it, so you can keep doing it. Because if you don't enjoy something, there's only so long you can do it for. So, yeah, man, I love listening to this shit. So let's keep flowing with that because it's awesome.
Yeah, the psychology part for me, to along with longevity, was a big thing. So to really push into those deep, dark depths of prep, my off-season psychology had to be a certain way.
Yeah.
So I otherwise I'd burn out, and I think it's not the same for everyone. Some people can go 100% hardcore all the time. But I've seen a lot of people drop off and they don't look their best on stage compared to what they did 6 weeks out or 20 weeks out. I think psychology has a lot to do with it. They can take the foot off the pedal without really knowing it. So it's you have to peak. You peak for a day, so you don't peak year round. So that was my thing.
Sas, this is just another one to that question. Did you also find, because of having that little bit of, I suppose, a little bit of freedom, it allowed for you to have somewhat better relationships in your life because you could perhaps eat a meal, be a bit more available mentally? Because bodybuilding's great, but not if it destroys your home. And
100%.
the home is the most important place. And by having these little bits of freedom, the meals and stuff like that, you can sustain a happy household. And when you have a happy household, you can keep working harder for longer.
Yeah, I need that. I need that support system, even if it's just Leanne.
Yeah,
we need to have that kind of. She always did whatever it took for me. But for me personally, I wasn't happy unless I knew that, okay, in a couple of days we can go out for food, or we can order a takeaway and watch a movie, or we can maybe I might take 3 days off the gym just so I can go out to the zoo. Little things like that. 10 years ago, maybe when I was 22, that would have scared me a bit.
yes.
But I learned along the way that if I don't have those off switch moments, it will catch up eventually in the middle of my prep. Or so mentally I needed to back off. It was Sean Roden that said to me when I first went pro, he said, you need two things now. One is thick skin now that you've gone pro. Two is learn when to take your foot off the pedal. You can't drive a Ferrari at 150 miles an hour all the time. That didn't make sense to me at the time fully, but then as I went along the motions and the different seasons, I learned that, okay, so this is how I do my best work. I need to know when I can just switch off to it all.
Yeah, Sean used to get a lot of slack for that, didn't he? Rest in peace, Sean. Great guy. He came to Max Muscle a couple of times. Because he would get a bit soggy in the off season. He'd enjoy his food, enjoy himself, have a bit of fun. And he would turn up. Yeah, can you remember that time he turned up at the guest spot and everybody was shitting on him?
Terrible.
He's
I know.
finished, he's
And
terrible. Then he came back and whopped everybody's ass. So yeah, it's I know we go on about like a lot of new school, old school stuff on this channel, which is kind of what it's about a little bit. But like I think that's kind of shifted now, hasn't it? Because back in the day, like 100 years ago when I was training. But no, it used to be like you would eat as much as possible in the off season and top it up with like a cheat meal at the end of the day or something. Now you weren't scared of getting a little bit of fat on your frame and stuff. But nowadays, the whole IG thing, we're not going to hate on social media all the time on here, but it seems to be the case that everybody, because there is no transition now, is there really? It's like everybody's eating the same food all year round because they're trying to stay lean for the pictures for Instagram and stuff. And I do think it kind of halts a lot of people's progress and stuff.
But I came up.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I came up in the gyms I came up in. We had a couple of big guys who were known for competing at the top national level, and we all kind of copied them. And it was bulk up when it was time to bulk up. I remember one guy who was, for me, he was crazy. He was freaky. He was 18 stone on stage, and he had these massive delts and quads, and he just looked like a freak. And when I asked him for advice, he's like, off season, just eat every 3 hours. I don't care if it's a chicken mayo sandwich and some crisps. If it's, just get the calories in round the clock, unless you're asleep. Bulk up, get heavy, get strong, do the volume, take your rest days. And then when it comes to prep, start weighing out. I mean, he was old school. He didn't weigh off season, but he was like, start weighing out from 20 weeks out, start weighing your rice, your chicken, cook it all at home, have your one cheat day a week if you need it, if you're on schedule. And it was really basic. And I never wanted to compete, but I just loved the food and the training. I just wanted to get huge. And it was bulk up or diet down. It was bulk up on, fun foods like sandwiches, fried chicken, and good food as well. But it was a constant flow of just calories, whereas now it's very precise all the time. And I think it should be precise, but there should be a different, I just blew up 30, 40 pounds on just food in the off season very quickly. And I got some of my best gains, some of my best looks on stage were when I really pushed my body weight up without getting overly fat. I'm not saying, turn into a marshmallow. I still look like a bodybuilder, but for today's standards, I think I was quite soft. But it helped me train hard. It looked after my joints. I felt steady under the bar. And it was when I grew my best, was when I was just eating.
Yeah. Also with that, Sass, it's like, I think we might have even discussed this before. What you find is when you go into your diet initially, because you clean things up so well, you get a really good start. You drop weight, bad weight, pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because you just eliminate those things that were not necessarily what you would have in prep.
Yeah.
So that calorie drop anyway, just from going, okay, I'm going to tidy up my food, you get this really good start to your prep. And then you can put more wholesome meals in from the regular foods. You're not impartial to a sandwich. I know that because I used to look at your posts a lot. Little Tesco visit. Yeah, little Tesco visit, little chicken and mayo or something.
I took that into about 8 weeks out one prep. I kept going to my Tesco sandwiches and a cookie because it just, why take it out when it's working and then take it out when you need to do it? I think carbohydrates are carbohydrate for the most part, and then then at one point you need to start replacing it with volume type nutritious carbs that are slow burning.
I think it's probably worth saying that some people can do that. Like, there are some people that kind of have to be on it a bit more. Because some people, they eat some shit and they just turn to shit just immediately. Like,
I imagine that comes down to like genetic nutrient partitioning and how they store. Some people can utilize, there's people, different ethnicities, different ages, like Sass was saying about age. A lot of the time, metabolic rate, just with age, tends to slow down. So you do
when I did my first show, I remember I had to diet on about 1,600 calories to get completely peeled.
Literally bikini diet, isn't it?
Right, yeah, so that was 2012. So over the years, it's the progression of adding muscle and consistently eating and training. And now I can get just as more shredded on 3,500 calories. So that's happened over time. My metabolism wasn't that good 15 years ago. But everything together, it's just that consistency and the muscle maturing like a fine wine.
Sure.
So it's a natural progression in that sense. But yeah, genetically, I think I was always genetically a soft kid. Like I'd have a slice of pizza and I'd blow up. But then now my body just seems to handle the food better as well. So
if you're bigger, you've got also a bigger leeway, haven't you? I mean, I'm not on like your level, but my limit to bulking is what I can actually eat without throwing up. It's like that.
Yeah.
There's not really a point where that's my limiting factor is digestion. Could I throw the same question at Leroy? What he used to do off season? What was the old school way? Were you writing on post-its, back of fag packets, or?
I was just about to ask that because I know these boys used to get heavy back in the day.
Yeah, I want to know.
Yeah, if it didn't move, it was dead. We used to eat it. So if we didn't have to kill it, we'd eat it. Yeah, off season was it was called bulking season or a bulking period for a reason. And that's what you're doing. You bulked, you got big, and you got, like Sass said, you got soft. And nobody cared. They liked when you done your guest bowls and you was massive, 280, 300 pounds, but you were softish. Nobody cared. You were massive. You were a freak. You were, that's what they came to see. There was 2 seasons in bodybuilding. It was the off season and the competitive season. Now it seems to have blended into one. Like Sassy says, a lot of people have they're in season. To me, that's unhealthy. I know they're eating healthy and they're doing this and they're doing that, but this as well. You got to enjoy yourself. You gotta reward yourself for putting yourself through that much shit and pain. However, doing it all year round, there's no you win a trophy, yeah, great. You won the trophy, you won a competition, and that's the reward. But are you healthy? Are you happy? Have you got a happy family life? Just like Sass says, you've got to have it all. It's 3-dimension. If you haven't got a happy family life, you're not going to have a happy training life. No. It doesn't go together, unfortunately. It's not good having a good training session, and in the car on the way home, thinking, "Fuck I'm going to go back to that shit." It doesn't work.
So, yeah, you got to have the missus on your side, don't you? Really, we all know that. I think so.
You got to have a good woman behind you. It helps. It helps so much. And I was lucky. I was blessed. But yeah, bulking season was for that. It was for bulking. And we didn't care. We got, I mean, I remember what my heaviest I ever got was like 18.5 stone for my size and that. And I'd walk 100 meters and sweat my bollocks off. It was uncomfortable, but that's what we did. And then when we dieted down, we looked awesome. Not just that, you've seen your gains. So that pigging out, that bulking, your body actually gained muscle because of the way you train. Your training never changed.
Yeah.
You got your training, got more intense, you got more heavier, you could handle more weight. You could handle more intensity because your body was fueled. So yeah, 2 seasons bulking. Bulking is for bulking. Competitive season is for competition. I don't believe it should be blended into one.
Leroy, what would be an example? Like, how would your day have looked back then when you were trying to put on that weight? Would you have been like a chicken and rice 5 times a day and then a pizza to finish? Or was it like, was there any structure really, or was it just consume and consume?
No, we okay. So wake up in the morning. We'd have 150 grams of porridge oats, 15 egg whites with a couple of yolks, a banana, all blended together. That would be your pre-workout meal, or one of them. Protein drink just before you an hour before you train. You do your training, come out, get your aminos in. Another meal, solid meal, chicken. Could be chicken, could be turkey, it could be steak. Some potatoes, rice. Another meal after that, over 3 hours. Every 3 hours, a meal.
Yeah.
It does get boring, and it does get hard to eat 6 or 7 solid meals a day. So having a few good protein drinks to supplement worked and helped. We were lucky we had metrics.
Yeah.
So every 3 hours, and I don't believe in waking up at fucking silly o'clock in the morning to get a meal down or drink down. I never done that. I would finish eating an hour before I went to bed. Maybe 9 o'clock, half 8, 9 o'clock. Bed 10, half 10. I'd sleep up again at 7 and start the regime again. So every 3 hours. However, the bodybuilding is a very selfish sport. As a bodybuilder, you have to be safe. So, and I did say you got to have a happy family life. The only thing about being a bodybuilder and trying and mixing that happy family life is if you've got to go to a kiddies party or you've got to go out for the day, you're traveling. Or we used to travel with fucking, hot containers with all you took your food with you. You're a walking hamper. So that was the only sort of downside. You had to make sure that your food went with you. The good thing about it was, and the reward was, at the end of the week, you had a cheat meal. You took yourself out to a restaurant and you had whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
Whatever you wanted.
That's all I wanted to know. I want to know it's okay to eat whatever you want once a week. Thank you, Leroy.
James just wanted the green light.
I'm just getting a green light. Like, yeah, cheers, bruv.
Yeah,
that was the old saying, wasn't it?
Reward yourself. You got to reward yourself.
I remember that saying back in the day. It was if it's not nailed down, eat it. That was the
yeah.
I think as a bodybuilder, I don't know if you guys agree, like through you, because James, you've been going a while now. Sass, you've been going quite a while now. How long have you been competing now, Sass? It's not as long as
2012 was my first one.
Yeah. So I think everybody has been through the phase where you got a bit too fat in the off season, and you've done the pre-contest where Sass said you had to like kill yourself with like next to no food.
3 hours cardio.
Spots kind of somewhere in the middle type thing. I think as a bodybuilder, I think it's good to even experience both of those ends as well.
Yeah,
to
test
kind
the
of
metal.
For yourself. Yeah. So
Leo,
if you same old years ago.
Yeah, if you go through a rigid regime and regimental diet to get in shape, and you get there and you look phenomenal, that fucking fat season was worthwhile.
Absolutely.
That's how I looked at it.
Well, I always found as well, it's that slingshot effect, isn't it? It's actually easy to push really, really hard when you have had a relaxed period.
Yeah.
It's so simple. Like, it's like when you have a holiday, you get back from a holiday, you're really keen to train.
Yeah.
It's the same shit. So you give yourself a bit of time where you have that kind of comfortable period. Then you actually admire and look for discomfort again because you're keen to feel it again. So it's actually nice to do that. I really find I prep best off the back of such a period as well. Some of the best preps I've had, I remember 2013. It was the first time I did the supers as an open guy. Somehow managed to get third. But my off season, I was having like drinks, chilling at barbecues. I was like, I said to myself at the time, I said, I'm going to relax. As long as I get all the food in I'm meant to get in and I train hard, anything else is a go. And that was the smoothest prep I've ever had. So
Yeah, you look great. I remember that. Yeah.
I was a bit slim, but I was in good condition. I got in pretty good shape. So, and I was only 23 at the time.
Yeah, I think back in the day, a sponsorship was like, there you go, there's your check or whatever every month. Go away and train. You don't need to look a certain way. But now, I don't know why. Maybe this is where you lost a little bit of the kind of passion, Sass. Because when I first signed a signed sponsorship, I had like clauses in there like you weren't allowed to go X amount of pounds over like your
Oh, did
contest
you?
weight. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to get too fat.
Fuck.
I wasn't allowed to do certain sports, etc. Whatever.
Yeah.
Is that where you kind of lost a little bit of it, Sass, where you felt the pressure of like the sponsorship obligations, like kind of holding you back a little bit and stuff?
I was always, I was always behind the scenes, kind of. I locked myself away. I love the Dorian mentality. Just go away, get your hoodie on, and then show up on show day. But as I was turning pro, that the times were changing to social media, and I had sponsors that were demanding, and I still wasn't of the mindset, okay, I'll do what it takes. It was more, I don't want to do that. And it did start to eat away at my passion because they were telling me to go here, there, and everywhere, or post this, and they'd make promises at the beginning of the contract and they'd change what they said initially. And this was all because it was social media driven, and I didn't like it. I wanted to just go away and train. I didn't want people watching me. I just wanted to show up. I didn't even post progress pictures for my first few shows until after the show. I just didn't like it. But times have changed. I think I've got my head around it now. But yeah, there's always that side of it where it's not been true bodybuilding that I grew up with. We all just we got in the kitchen, we ate, we trained, and then it would be months and months before anyone saw anyone's physique. Now it's every day you see someone posting a progress picture because they feel like they have to. Whereas back then it was the element of surprise. Like, oh, look at him, he's filling out that hoodie now. We've not seen him in 6 months. Then he gets on stage and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? That was exciting for me. And then when I get off stage, it was like, I'm not going to see anyone for another year. It's time to get to work.
That's what I used to love.
Yeah, and it's different now. So that's where my passion was for a long time. So I think, yeah, it did get blurry for me, which you're right, it did affect me.
So this was another question, Sass. You've mentioned that you're prepping yourself now. How are you finding that? Is the head game? I mean, I know is it a week out now? Are the head games kicking in and all that shit? And we all know the deal on that one.
I have my moments. I think when I made the decision, I was a bit like, it was scary, but it scared me in a good way.
Yeah.
I've always believed that if something scares you, then it's probably can you still hear me?
Yeah.
We lost your touch there, so
sorry, just 1 sec.
That's all right.
We always have technical difficulty on this.
It's got to be something, otherwise it's not a podcast.
Yeah.
Got it back. It was scaring me in a good way. So I went in with a simple mind. I want to wake up and look a certain way every day to say, okay, I'm improving or I'm not. I didn't look into it in a complicated way. I didn't think, right, 4 weeks out, I need to be looking like this, and 3 weeks out, I need to be doing this, or add this supplement, or take this away. And I didn't look at anyone else that I was competing against. I just kind of got my blinkers on. I did what I know works. And with bodybuilding and me, I've always been an instinctive trainer. So I knew that if I just listen to my gut, I can't go wrong. And if I do go wrong, I learn from it, which was my plan anyway.
Yeah.
So the head games, if anything, it was like, wow, I look so lean for 4 weeks out. Like, and I'd show Leanne and I think, what do you think? She'd be like, you look crazy. So the only head game was, am I going to be ready too early? So that the issue has been, for me, is maintaining, not letting my body run away with it, which is a new thing for me. So 4 weeks out, I was kind of in a kind of condition where I could get on stage.
Yeah.
So since then, it's been the hardest part for me has been, okay, so I look a little bit flatter today. Should I pull back on the activity? Shall I add some carbs? Shall I stay the same? But I haven't asked anyone for advice because I knew that if I sent someone pictures and said, "What do you think it would?" I would switch my mind off to myself and I would to them. But so far, it's lent me to a place where I've never been before. This kind of condition. I've not seen my skin this thin, and I've not been this hard at this body weight. So that's boosted my confidence to the point where all my head games have kind of just gone to bed for now. I'm pretty relaxed.
Awesome.
But yeah, I look at the older guys like Dorian, and I just think, those guys did it. I think I can do it. So I had the confidence from when I decided to leave Chris, and
100%.
this decision I made. James helped me a lot of the time. I asked him.
Oh, we had a little chat. It was a good chat.
Yeah.
That was just kind of based off this year for me, wasn't it? It was kind of like, I did the same thing. I got to prep and I was like, I'm going to just run this myself because the same reasons as you. I want to improve my knowledge. I want to be able to say to people, this is what I reckon you should do based off of what I've discovered. Because you can regurgitate, you can be told to do something and pass it on to people, but you being in a coaching position, nothing is as valuable as your own opinion.
Yeah.
So now you doing your own prep, you have your opinions are even more they're even more honest.
Yeah, when someone asks me now, why did you change your carbs that day, or why did you do this, and why did you? At least I can say now.
Because I thought.
Whereas in the past, they'd be like, well, let me ask him, and then and I've always done my off seasons on my own. The only time I passed things over to Chris was from 15 to 20 weeks out. There was majority of it was myself. I just needed to take that extra step.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. I think it's the perfect move for someone that is growing their coaching business, but also on a personal level, just to be able to say that I'm a good bodybuilder. Because it sounds weird, but I've always felt like I'm half a bodybuilder when someone else preps me. I feel like, I'm a drone, and being a drone's cool. Like just being like the grunt that gets the job done is great. But the skill of bodybuilding, the true skill, is knowing to make decisions. And the only people I really look at with that kind of level of respect in bodybuilding are those people like the Comptons, who I know prep themselves. Because then I'm like, that's a complete bodybuilder. That's someone who, if he was isolated in the middle of nowhere, could get ready for a show with no input from anybody. Whereas most would crumble because we get led to water. Like we need to be taught and shown. So I don't know. I think it's fucking great. And I think more bodybuilders should get brave and try it. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? Like you say, you make a few errors somewhere, but you know everything you've done. You can figure out what went wrong after if you have to. And it's only ever going to be something very small. It's not like you're going to do something ridiculous because there's experience already in play.
Yeah, and you can only blame yourself then.
Exactly.
And to top that up, I think the other big reason was I have a family now, and my kids are number one.
Yeah, need that.
My missus, my kids, my coaching. So when I was on someone else's
schedule
and cardio schedule, I was locked in, and I wasn't happy because I couldn't do anything outside of that schedule. So I wanted to have control where I could change things on the fly. Noah's birthday might be in 3 days. I'm going to give myself a high day. I'm going to cut down my carbs for a few days so I can have a high carb day on Noah's birthday so I can enjoy it. I couldn't do that on someone else's schedule. So and that lends itself to being happier in the house, and that lends itself to a happier prep, more effective prep.
Well, yourself, like you might wake up one day and go, you know what, today's not a cardio day.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know what, I'm just going to get an equivalent amount of movement later in the day because I've got stuff to do. And like you say, when you're locked into another person's schedule and that, there's this level of like guilt that doesn't allow you to do that. Whereas when you know that it's a reasonable decision and it's your own decision, it's much easier to do that.
You just need to trust yourself.
It does take a very certain type of person to be able.
I knew you were going to chime in there, Dad, because I was going to say, right, Dad, you're on your own.
Dad's
now.
like, tell me.
Yeah. No, but first off, I think that actually, like, you're doing it because you're incredibly experienced. You know your body better than anyone, even having other people bring you through these journeys and making decisions on the fly that aren't just emotionally reactive.
Yeah, it's hard.
Shows a huge amount of mental power. Like, that's amazing. But I think as well, the other one, you know, people doing it when they know themselves. I still think the beginning of everyone's journey, they getting coaches too early, they don't get even the first bit of knowledge about their body, and then maybe after 10 years they know nothing about their actual physique. So like it's both ends, isn't it? I think
I agree.
if you go to a coach in your early days, they've got, if they're good, maybe they've got 100, maybe they've got 200. If you just do your own at the beginning, no one's going to be as tuned into that information as you are. Like it's just impossible. So I think people are jumping on coaches too early, and a lot of these coaches probably don't have the time to explain enough about. And then like 5-10 years down the line, you're like, I actually know nothing about how my body responds at all.
I agree. I totally agree.
Did you ever have a second pair of eyes? Sorry, Sass. Did you ever have a second pair of eyes, Leroy? Because obviously there was no coaches back in the day. Did you send your Polaroids off to anybody? Because obviously there was no.
No, it's just me and Doz. We never,
and I bet it was once a week. I bet it wasn't every day.
Yeah. No. Probably once every 2. You don't. A physique, to me, a physique doesn't change fucking daily.
Maybe the last week.
Not unless you're really on top of. Yeah, the last week things are going to happen because you're decarbing and whatever. So, just like Sass said earlier, you in the off season you'd walk. You know, another one of my things is if ever I was to be coaching people, my first bit of advice was and still is keep your fucking clothes on. You know, I don't want to see you walking around half naked. What's happening to you? What you're doing is for you. And like, you know, when you walk out on stage, I want the fucking judges to gasp, you know, at what you look like, what you've achieved, you know. But that doesn't happen no more because everyone fucking. In fact, a lot of them look fucking worse when they walk out on stage because they've done that much to their photos. You know, to big them up. They walk out on stage. Fuck me, what a bag of shit. However, no, we never took photographs every week, and we never sent them to anybody. Every now and then, after a session, after a training session, maybe stripped down to our shorts or whatever, and Doz would have a look, and then, you know, a bit of advice: do this, do that, go away, do it. Have a look a couple of weeks later. If it worked, it worked. Okay, carry on doing that. That was it. But like Daz just says, you got to get to know your body. You got to get to know what, you know. And if a bit of advice is given to you, and you do it and it works, you write that down, you keep it, you bank it, because you know it works for you. That is getting to know your body. That is getting to know what things work and what doesn't. But if you've got someone doing that for you 24/7, that's, you know, he's right. You just do not know your body, and God forbid something happens to that coach, or he decides to fucking drop you. What are you going to do? You're going to go looking for another coach. Coaches, they're very, very. What's the word? I'm going to be nice here. They're. You got two a penny now. You got coaches. They're fucking everywhere now. You walk into a gym. There's more coaches than there are people training.
Yeah.
I know where I am. You got people who've been. 1 week you see them come join the gym. They train 3 or 4 weeks. Next thing you know, they're training somebody else. Fucking phenomenal, unbelievable. They're not coaches.
Leroy, I've helped people with like taking pictures for them pose after they've done a session, who are online coaches, and they don't even know how to hit a side chest.
Yeah.
Like literally, and I'm like, wow. And I know for a fact you've got quite a lot of clients, and you tell them how to do bodybuilding, and I'm like, you're standing here, you don't even know how to put your foot next to the other leg to create the illusion of a big hamstring.
Yeah.
Like just, it's like,
That's
whoa.
the shock.
And I've only realized this more lately because I obviously have my own place. And listen, guys, I'm saying it because it is crazy. Like, I'm not trying to point you out and say, well, but really, like, to advise other people on something that you have no knowledge about. That's why coaching, in my opinion, again, I know we will sound like we're rambling, but again, it's good that someone like Sass coaches, because there's that experience behind the fucking bodybuilding itself.
He's got a pedigree.
Yeah.
You know, I call it a pedigree. You got to look at the person. Have they got a pedigree? What have they done? What have they achieved? What have they competed at? You know, if they've done all that and they've got a pedigree, you've got a fighting chance.
Yeah.
Well, but if someone can't show you how to do a pull down on a machine, or they just leave you to it and they stood there on the phone talking to somebody else, it's a sad affair, isn't it? But it's happening, and it's happening everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly.
I think
I also think coaching's like myself and Dan speak about this. Like, it's a two-way thing. There was no way I would type Dan an email and say, right, Dan, just do that, and then we don't discuss it or we don't speak about it. Or it's like a two-way thing. Like, you're kind of helping each other, if you like. I think a lot of the coaches now is like, again, I hate to use the copy pasting, but if someone just sends somebody something there, follow that, check in next week. But like you say, Sass says like nothing's explained, or they don't know why they're doing something. Or
coaching, isn't it? That's their definition of coaching, because they can't actually physically or verbally coach someone. It's always copy paste and fucking send it. You know, and you send me pictures and I'll tell you how you look. Gone are the days where you said, right, come to me, I want to see you, or I'm coming to you. I don't want to do that no more. It's all over the internet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I always think about it like that, because everyone's science now. So, like, you know, they're like, oh, I saw this research project and there was this thing and stuff. Like, the greatest research project that you can do where you know all the variables is the one you do on yourself. And that actually has less bias and less invalid information, because you know everything that you're doing, than a study with 50 people where you don't track them the rest of their existence. You go and you do like, oh, they do one rep. Well, how fast is it? The variables in a lot of these studies are so vast that they're not even as reliable as the ones that you would have done on yourself, because you will know everything that's happening. So although they're useful, one of the greatest research projects that you can do, if you have the mind to do it, is the one you do on yourself.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. And hence why Sass.
Hashtag Sass.
Full circle.
He's a funny one. Just to break the seriousness of it. Just because we're shitting all the coaches. But so Dan sent the check-in video over this morning, and so I'm watching it on my phone, obviously, because nobody FedExes pictures anymore, or whatever. And I was like, shit, he's holding his front double bicep because Dan's lazy as shit. I got to pull him on this all the time. And anyway, you'll agree, even in the off season, you should be holding your poses for at least 10 seconds. But Dan's like, rests his forward up, just boom, 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 just blasts through them. And I'm like, oh, Dan, hold your poses. So he's doing this front double bicep. And I'm like, fuck, he's holding this for like fucking 30 seconds. Like, he must have been listening, but this is a bit too long.
He's making sure.
The next port, he filmed it in slow motion on his iPhone. Fuck, you know, what the fuck is this?
And it was so long that I wouldn't send.
Yeah, exactly. The video wasn't sending. I was like, yeah, because it's like 7 years long, Dan. But yeah, that was funny this morning when I was checking that out. But yeah, just to lighten it up a bit there, because you were just kind of destroying all the coaches and stuff. Oh, let's have a look at some more questions. Oh, sorry, Leroy. Sorry, mate.
There are good coaches. Don't get me wrong. There are fucking brilliant coaches out there, but they're a minority. You know, unfortunately, the good coaches like yourselves are a minority. Unfortunately, you got umpteen thousands of fucking twats that label themselves and title themselves coaches, and they just haven't got the knowledge, they ain't got the experience, they don't know shit. Everything they've got, they took off the internet. It's all copy. And you know, I keep having a. I know it's naughty, but I keep thinking maybe I should start exposing them. You know, taking pictures of them and exposing them. Get them on the channel. So just because it's frustrating, it really is. You see this poor person who's obviously paid them money, and they're there shot. They get them onto a machine and they say, "Well, do this," and there's no explanation, demonstrating or practice. They just do this. So the guy gets on there and he's moving this weight from A to B. He hasn't got an idea or clue why he's doing it. He hasn't even got a clue what body part he's fucking training. But they're getting away with it.
Well, we don't want to turn this into like a double-edged sword, because we've been like quite, what's the word I'm looking for here? Because we are launching heavy-duty coaching, aren't we? But I would like to think between us, like myself, Leroy and Dan, we've got quite a bit of knowledge. I mean, Jesus, I think I coached for about at least 3 years before I charged anybody, just to gain some knowledge. And by that time, I'd already, did a few contests and stuff myself. And yeah, it is scary that someone, again, just starts the gym 6 months down the line. Yeah, DM me for coaching. It's crazy. It is absolutely fucking crazy. Someone who's 16 years old, who's been training for 6 months, hasn't even learned anything about their own body yet before they can start kind of teaching other people how to do stuff. Like James just said there's some people can't even they're doing contest prep for people and they can't even hit the fucking standard bodybuilding poses. It's absolutely nuts how it's kind of.
I agree.
We did some horrible maths on that, didn't we? Because we figured out that we had 100 years experience between us.
Yeah, 'cause I'm old as fuck.
And nothing's made me feel older than that sum.
Yeah, we've both kind of all stepped on stage and won some decent contests and stuff. So I think we kind of qualify, if you like.
I think
But again, we're not super cool, are we? So we're not cool.
I'm
We
definitely
don't do
not
all
cool.
the cool stuff. So
cool to me.
yeah, thanks, Saf. Checks in the post.
I
Saf, I was going to.
I just can't do the bullshit stuff. I can't do it. I'd rather have no money and be dying in a ditch than do all this fucking bullshit,
stuff.
fucking cack shit. I'm sorry, pardon my French. It does grind my gears a little bit, unfortunately.
It's true. And you see it more because obviously you have your own place as well. So you see it fucking in the person. I was going to ask Sass obviously about just training in general. How's it been this year? Has there been a same approach as usual? Has it been, I know you're a bit of a fan of regular body part training. Anything notable?
So, again, I think even though I've been training since I was 13 and I'm 38 now. So, but even to this day, I think my body is finding ways to say, don't do that. Let's do this. And that could be the split. I mean, I'm usually a single body part, a day type guy, but I've mixed my splits up. I might go in and might want to do back, biceps and rear delts.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I can do chest and track. Like I go in and I give my body exactly what it needs.
On the day.
Basics are still there. My rep ranges from 6 to 20. I like higher rep ranges now, especially with my joints that are a bit worn. My volume depends on how I feel recovery wise, how I feel energy wise, my how heavy I lift. It will depend on how I feel fatigue in my joints. If they feel really good and I feel strong, heavier that day. I've learned to, if I go in with a set plan, maybe it was different when I was 22. I'd go in and say, I want to deadlift heavy today. I want to go in and do bench. I want to go and squat. That was like the plan. Every week we'd go in and shoot for a big compound lift. And but my body could take it. Whereas I think over the years, I need to isolate more. And I need to be able to listen to my body within the rep range might change within a set. The tempo might change. One day one set might be quick and I don't feel it. I might slow the reps down and I feel it more, or vice versa. I feel like everything has to be in the right place, whether it's recovery, so sometimes I might be back twice in 1 week.
If you feel like you can.
Right. So one week my legs might just wipe me out to the point where I can't train them again for another 10 days.
Yeah.
I've learned to be very flexible. Don't get me wrong, I still stick to the basics.
Yeah.
Train each body part every 5 to 7 days.
Yeah.
Certain amount of work sets work for me, where it's between 12 to 20 across the week for a body part. Those kind of stick around, but then they will change if I feel like I can push or not push as much. That's the biggest thing that's changed for me these past couple of years, is really just being in tune with what my body's telling me.
That instinct's a huge driver, isn't it?
I think at this point, because it's been a long time, a lot of years training, and I can't do what I did when I was 20 or 25 or 30. So I need to be able to progress in different ways. And now it's just really being as smart as I can with the isolation work, less compounds, or compounds if I can do it. But yeah, it's that's why I've set up my YouTube channel. I like to give people a bit of a different angle on things. If you've got shoulder issues and knee issues, it doesn't mean you can't go and train hard. It just means things have to be adapted. Yeah. So yeah, it's like it lends back to what I was going to say about the coaches. As a coach and an athlete, I think you always have to be willing to learn. So even though I've been doing this 24 years, I'm still like learning the biology of something that I learned in the gym that didn't have a reason. I want to be able to give a reason behind it to my guys. And if I don't know something, I'll tell them. You know, a lot of coaches will say that, you know, you have to do this to grow your legs. I don't think there's one way to grow your legs. I think there's many ways. And if I haven't tried one way, I will tell them. And I say, okay, just give it a go for a few weeks. And then, you know, as the athlete, as the lifter, you have to be willing to do the same. Just go in with a bit of an open mind.
Yeah.
Basics still underpin everything, but, you know, listen to your body, and you end up usually having a better workout if you can do them.
Them are the points that they ask you. One, you know your body through experience and time. And the second thing, which to me is very important, is you're actually listening to your body. You're actually listening to it, and then you're adapting it and doing as your body's telling you, as your body's telling you, which is good. I mean, years ago, we used to listen, but we used to feel, but we never used to listen.
Yeah.
And as we get more mature, you know, as more mature, we're forced to listen to the body, unfortunately.
Yeah, something happens normally.
It tells you off.
This is why, though, I love progressive overload as a principle, but this is why I don't ever pressure myself to be a logbook guy, because I won't do it at the expense of going against my instinct.
Yeah,
my instinct outweighs everything, and it always has. So, you know, to go in the gym and to be like, oh, I have to get 12 reps on something that I got 11 on last week or whatever it may be. Sometimes it's just not those days, and it'd be foolish for me personally, and I believe many of you as well, just to force it, because when you force it, shit happens that's bad. Yeah, like that's when I would find other ways to intensify what I'm doing if I know that I'm not carrying that amount of energy to be able to progress the lift. So like you said earlier, like you can play around with tempo, you can play around with movements. There's always ways. The main driver for anything is actually just intensity, and intensity isn't just weight.
No, I agree. There's so many better. I use rest times a lot.
Yeah, shorter rest periods.
If I know I can't go super heavy on hack squats, I'll reduce the rest times where my quads still fatigue.
Full of blood and fuck, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I think there's so many things that people, if you marry yourself, I'm not saying logbook because I know they work, but if you marry yourself to a set structured plan for that day, I think you take yourself out of your own body, and you look at the numbers a little bit too much. And then you're just lifting the weight to get to a number, whereas you might just forget that you need to use the muscle to lift that weight, not just.
Yeah, I feel like the best physiques are the ones that are wise enough to know that that has its place, but isn't the only way. Because I feel like when it's just all progressive, obviously every lift you're thinking about more load, like you just said there, you will incorporate every muscle to get that lift done. So laterals, everything. If you're just chasing, you know, a heavier lateral than last time,
yeah,
you're going to fire every muscle to get it heavier than last time. And then in the long run, when you follow that kind of regime, it doesn't necessarily benefit the look of your physique. And bodybuilding is a look game. And most of the time, when you have an error in your physique that needs fixing, it's because of going down a path like that for a bit too long, where you neglect the isolation. So like you said there, you're focusing a lot more on isolation and stuff. One, because it feels good to do that because it's less aggressive. But two, from a bodybuilding perspective, often something is lagging behind, and it's because it isn't being isolated. So that's why, yeah, like, I'll squat. I'm happy to increase the load. But when it comes to like those independent movements, those isolation stuff, I'm not even that fussed about progressing the lift, because quite honestly, I've noticed in the past when I have progressed the lift, there's been a crossover point where form has dropped, and I end up making the exercise something it wasn't.
Yeah,
and I wonder if
especially when the
poundages
get as high as you use in gyms. I do like progressive overload for like younger guys who are just starting out.
For sure.
Nowadays, I always try and tell them, I don't tell them, I advise them more, like, you know, give them the notion of like, maybe just choose one exercise. Like your whole workout doesn't have to be like heavy.
Yeah.
But if you're going from like 20 kilos to 40 kilos to 60 kilos on a bench press, it's not
perfect.
Like, what's the word I'm looking for? You're not as injury prone as someone like yourself who's benching 5 plates, looking to bench like 5 plates in a 2.5, 5 plates in a 5, getting up to 6 plates.
Yeah, and also with those kind of movements, the ones where you're like using multiple joints, I think are safer to do progressive overload on.
Yeah.
So squat, deadlift because you're going to use your knees, your hips, your back, like, and bench press even to a degree because you're using shoulders and triceps. But like
Yeah.
progressively overloading like a strict tricep extension or a strict curl, I'm not so, or even a lateral, I'm not too keen on. I obviously want it to get stronger in time, but I never want to sacrifice that kind of form. Because when I was at my strongest on certain movements, my physique wasn't necessarily its best.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people that I see bodybuilding and I watch their stuff on Instagram who are very strong, if there was one bit of advice I'd give them is that you need to break down your training a little bit more and actually not worry about lifting so heavy on some of those muscle groups. I remember training with you, Sas, doing rear delts actually at Strength Asylum, and you kept your sets at 20 reps each set because you were like, at the time, I'm pretty sure you were like, well, if I just go heavier, I don't feel it in that position, that place. So
Yeah.
relatively short rest period, 3 sets of 20, smash the shit out of your rear delts, and you've arguably got some of the best rear delts that any of us know. So again, learning from being around people like Sass and other people, I have come to realize that the best bodybuilders are that patient and train things that way when they have to, even if it's not the funnest way to train.
Yeah, patience. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
James.
also-
So if you're a beginner, because this is a competition I had with a guy the other day. So if I said like, right, we're going to do shoulders, and I want you to progress on one movement, pick one of these movements which you
Yeah.
want to progress on. If you had side lateral, dumbbell side lateral, cable side lateral, and barbell military press, which one would you pick?
It'd be the press for me because you're sharing that load
Yeah.
between shoulder, tricep.
But you
It's-
would be
it's-
amazed at as the amount of people who would say, "Oh yeah, I'll progress on the cable lateral." It's just because we're kind of like been doing this a long time. It's kind of second nature to us for this like simple questions, if you like. There is a lot of guys out there who kind of don't even know that kind of basic knowledge. I mean, which one would you choose, Sass? We
No.
would choose the barbell press all day, wouldn't we? Just to progress on, if you like.
Funny you said that because I was going to say also another scenario when I go into my next off season or a couple of small ones I've done in the last few years, when I really want to try to get progression a little bit more clear as to what I'm doing in the gym, I do pick a big compound to start my session with. So for chest day, it would be flat or inclined barbell bench or Smith press. That one exercise I would probably shoot to progress to a point where I'm not going to hurt myself, but and then as the muscle groups, as the movements gets more isolated, then I'll try and focus more on blood volume, metabolic,
metabolic work,
that kind of
yeah,
thing.
as they say.
I like that. It's like I call it a hybrid training. You start off with a lower volume, progressive overload type. Then as the session progresses, it speeds up. You focus more on blood volume, isolation work, and you just make sure you fried that muscle to as much as you can. And then you go, you eat, you sleep, and then hopefully the next session you can start again and progress that big main compound lift. I like to do that.
Well, yeah, because the good thing about that as well, Sass, is if you progress that first exercise, and even if everything else remains the same,
yeah,
the progression on that first lift is still progression on the entire workout.
Exactly, and it sets up the workout as well. You do a big bench or a big squat or a big leg press. The rest of the session is kind of just locked in.
Yeah,
You're locked in already, and mentally you're having a good workout. And then you make sure you eat and you sleep enough to make that progression. So yeah, I like to do, like I said, I don't have a set method. I like to do a bit of everything really.
Yeah, another reason I like to do it is because gyms are getting bigger now. I'm not bigging up my gym here, everything, but the gym's got so much equipment in there. You got some young guy going in there. He'll just end up doing like so many sets of everything. So I do like to say if you can try and like pick, one exercise for each body part and progress on those and kind of stick with those for over the long term. Because when I had my small gym, you didn't really have much choice, but shit, we got like X amount of chest machines and stuff like. They just get a little bit lost, just to kind of give them some focus and some direction. Like today, right? Yeah, I do have to kind of get this lift done and get an extra rep or so. Then the rest of your session, fair enough, like go and pump around and stuff. But yeah, just to try and give them some direction a little bit. I'm not necessarily saying you have to have a logbook for everything, but I think that's a good idea. Just to have one thing, yeah.
I like that approach, definitely. I think for me, for chest day, it would be flat bench.
on a flat bench.
Leg day, it would be a leg press. Back day, it would be bent over barbell rows. And shoulders, it would be a high incline Smith shoulder press. And then biceps, triceps, dips for triceps. And easy barbell curl for biceps. Pretty basic, but I
Yeah.
would pick those, I think, knowing what
That's
I know.
rubbish. That's not technical enough at all. You know,
Not,
telling
not
lies
enough
there.
cuffs in there.
That's not fancy enough at all. Yeah,
I wanna know Leroy's.
I'm pleased you guys say stuff like this because yeah, it is what it is.
I want to know
Leroy,
Leroy.
Leroy likes
I
doing
know.
face pulls 3 times a week. That's his favorite exercise.
Rope face pulls.
And mine would be incline press for chest, hammer. I've left the barbells alone now because I'm mature.
I love
Legs
that.
would be leg press. Shoulders would be Smith like Sass, high incline, high seated Smith shoulder press. Biceps would be dumbbell curls, heavy dumbbell curls, or EZ bar. Triceps would be push down, machine push downs. The back seated hammer rolls would be
Yeah.
my compound. But like Sam says, you could swap them exercises around weekly because there's that many machines, there's different machines that you can have a good compound movement with. So yeah, that would be mine.
Yeah.
I just also refuse to think about what I'm lifting on enough lifts so that I would have to fucking write it down. I just refuse to carry around a little fucking A4 flip chart and write everything down. Like, I just pick a few, put it in my actual brain that should be able to remember some things. And you know, don't you? Like you're saying, you shoot for it. And then if you went, well, fucking hell, that was strong. Then I'd go, oh, well, that was that. Oh, that is stronger. But yeah, you're right. I could never trust myself to have a logbook and go, that's the number. Because I know I'd be a cunt about it.
Yeah.
And I just fuck myself up. I would.
I used to have a
Basically,
logbook, but
anxiety.
not in the gym. Not in the gym. I used to, look at it before I went to the gym. I couldn't carry a. Anyway, I used to do the wrong, but I couldn't carry a textbook around the gym. It's just weird to me. But again, it's just different times now. So I do see guys with like 3 books and stuff. I don't know what they put in there, but
I think they're just drawing pictures of like their genitals and stuff. And they just
down at the low of the tone. I get it. It's always done. It's usually Holland's head who sexualizes things, and we won't go there, James.
Yeah. My book's like, where did he touch me? He touched me here.
Oh God. So sorry, pal. We don't want to keep you too long because I know you're. It is a week. Is it a week out today? Yeah.
It's a week out tomorrow, so a weekend one.
So it's a Sunday show, yeah. But this was another question. But I know you're very relaxed and very kind of off the cuff. But someone did ask, what are your kind of goals for this competitive season? Have you got some things that you've got in mind? That are you just going to go with the flow?
Yeah, no, I have. So next week in Spain, if I place, this is a financial reason. If I place top 3, I will do Portugal 3 weeks later, and I want to do the Europa British show in September. I think that's 12 weeks from Spain, which is a good time for me to reset, rebound, and go back in. My goal, obviously, for this season was just to get back on stage, supplement my coaching business, and kind of enjoy myself. But it's turned into I am going to set myself up to try and get to the Olympia in 2025. So I do think I can add a few pounds in the right places over the next off season, and then come back next year with an extra 8 to 12 pounds, so I can be competitive with the top of the league. So I can try and get a pro win and get to the Olympia. That would be the ultimate goal before I retire. That's only kind of developed in the last few weeks, because I said to myself, if I don't enjoy this comeback, I'm just gonna retire this year. But I've enjoyed it. My body feels good. The family life hasn't suffered, and the business is still good. So I'm kind of seeing I know I can progress still. So I know I can still peak a little bit better before I call it a day. So hopefully 2025 Olympia is going to be the ultimate goal. But I'm going to try and do a few shows this summer. If I don't place high enough, I'm going to call it a season and just do. In fact, no, sorry. I'll probably do the British Pro Show in September either way. But traveling wise, I'm just going to call it at Spain, just financially.
Yeah, people don't realize it's a lot of money, man, doing this shit.
Yeah, and it's just the time. We need a bigger house, and there's priorities. So yeah, Spain at least, and then the British Pro Show, and then off season, which I'm going to document on YouTube every week. and then go into next year and hopefully get to the Olympia.
I have
You need
no
a
doubt.
bigger TV. You need a bigger TV, Sass. Now you got 2 kids, so you need to get a bigger TV.
yeah.
Behave yourself. Also, you're going to compete in September. Oh, this is another opportunity.
I'm going to try. I mean, I always say I listen to my body. Usually in the past, when I do a show, I put so much into a prep that post-show, my body doesn't respond as well. It either runs away with the food, it starts to lose weight. It just doesn't stay as sharp and fresh. I think I have to let my body tell me because I don't want to just force it. I see people do show after show after show. Granted, if they don't get truly lean enough, then yeah, they can probably do 4, 5, 6 shows in a row.
Yeah.
For me personally, if I get truly peeled and I'm in condition, post-show, I just have to see how my body responds over the next few weeks. And if I need to, if I'm not going to be at my best, if it's too much of a struggle, too much of a fight to get my body to respond, then I'll call it a season. And I've had to do that in the past. That's why Chris Acito used to call me the one-show wonder. I'll just do one show and then disappear. But I just put so much into that one peak that post-show, my body would just eat away at everything. I feed it, and I just start to fade away, which isn't the goal. So this is
just when you said you're competing in September there, so obviously we got the Ultraflex Open, which is like a non-sanctioned, non-federation contest at the end of August.
Oh right.
I'm hoping to get some guest poses. I'm hoping it's not going to cause any issues because in the past IFBB pros weren't allowed to guest pose at like other events, but we're not a sanctioned event, so it shouldn't be an issue. I know James said he might turn up for a guest spot. Sass, would you look for a guest spot?
Yeah.
He'll consider it. We'll just catch him while he's a week out when he's feeling vulnerable, when he's all tired. No, the ultimate goal is like, because let's face it, there's never any like good guest spots at any contest. Rarely now, is it? It's not like again like the old days. I keep going on about the old days, but I used to love like the guest spot at the contest. It's the highlight of the show for me. Big monstrous dude coming out guest posing and stuff. The ultimate goal, if you get.
Funny enough, sorry. One of my other goals was bodybuilding's given me everything I have, so I want to give back, and I want to start doing appearances. I want to bring back that whole, go from show to show, do a few guest appearances over the summer while you're in shape. So I'm 100% in for that. I do want to bring that back, and I know it's missing.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, so what we should do, we should both do your one, and then I should drag Sass over to Sweden to do the gas one as well.
Yeah, that's all.
If you're up for it,
honestly, it would be awesome if we could get yourself, Nathan, James. Obviously, if we could afford you guys, we've got a budget. That would be like an awesome kind of setup. That would be like the UK's Pittsburgh Pro.
Yeah. I mean,
that would be cool. That would be cool.
I'm just going to try and bring some excitement back to the contest again.
Yeah, we need to make it.
I'm sure we'll all agree it's like it's a little bit, I won't say boring, but a little bit kind of a long day, man. I just need to break it up a little bit and get some guest spots on there. So I know it initially makes it a longer contest, but I'm sure you'll agree, just from a break from all of the multiple classes, getting a guest spot on and then getting everybody on together at the end. And Dan is guest posing because he agreed to it.
I'm fucking not.
There you are.
I was
that was on the last guest.
Hey, I was.
You got it on video.
Sass is, when in Game of Thrones, you can assign your champion. Like Sass is my champion. He's gonna do the guest spot for me. I'm not standing next to fucking Nathan Hollingshead and Sass
Well, if you don't, I'm going to post up your slow motion check-in on Instagram after the
podcast. Rough. That's fucking rough.
Blackmail, it's bad. It's bad. Yeah. When you get the transitions in the off-season when you're trying to hit the side tricep.
Pause it.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a pause. Dan, you guess pause there. But no, that'll be awesome, guys. I want to try and bring a little bit of old-school excitement back to the stage and so. But again, it shouldn't be an issue. I don't know if you guys can have a chat with the IFBB. It's a non-sanctioned event. Bit of money in your back pocket.
I've seen some people put guest pros in this year already that are pros at some other shows.
Awesome.
So
we get the treehouse. We get the treehouse as well for the weekend.
It's worth it just for the treehouse, Sass. It's worth it just.
Bring Leanne and the kids. This is some hot tubs there, Sass.
So, yeah, definitely. That sounds good. I'm 100% in. I'm
awesome. No, we'll have a chat with that. I'll shoot you a DM or a message, Sass, and we'll sort that out. Yeah. No pressure on you, McLab, to get your off season into full swing.
I'll just kill myself.
Leo, I think you should come out of retirement.
Yeah.
You've got 12 weeks, Davis.
Perfect time.
You can do your own 12-week transformation.
3 months. Lovely.
Yeah.
No pressure, Leroy. Get that
You know
back,
what?
that spread back on stage.
I'm just visualising a pose down between the four of them. Oh, fucking
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
awesome.
Dan's hard on himself. He's a big fucking dude.
Dan's a monster.
Even in slow motion. He's a big dude. Right, gents, is there anything else you want to kind of ask before we let him go? Because I'm sure he's on his arse. How are you feeling a week after that? I know you said you're feeling pretty good mentally, but physically, are you a little bit beat?
Going back to having a good support system at home, if it wasn't for Leanne, I think I would struggle to get through the last few weeks. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point,
Leanne.
you try and explain, when you're this lean, it doesn't matter if you're eating 1,000 grams of carbs.
No, don't do shit.
You feel like a flat line, fatigue, like tiredness that it's got its hooks sunk into you. But
even when you have that high day, it just doesn't do anything, does it? It's like,
oh no, high days just annoy me. All they do is make me hungry for the next
3 days, 4 days, yeah.
So, but yeah, other than obviously the fatigue, I feel really good. Mentally, I'm always really relaxed, especially as I get closer to the show. I'm more relaxed than ever, and I think that's got a lot to do with the psychology that lets me do well on stage. So I'm happy.
Sass, I was going to ask you, when are you heading out?
Next Friday. So it's a Sunday show. I head out on the
that's
Friday
fine.
morning, and then I come back Monday night. So
Perfect. That's what I did when I used to do European shows. A lot of people are like, oh, you need to be there early. It's a couple of hours. You're fine.
Well, I just looked at the athletes meeting was Friday night, so I thought I get there Friday morning. It should be sweet.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You've done Alicante, haven't you?
Yeah. And I've done quite a few European shows. Like I did the Italy, and that was the same. I landed there, same evening, athlete meet, next day or wherever it was, show, wherever it was, quick turnaround, come home with the trophy, bro. Boom. Olympia qualification, the trophy, home.
In bed by 10.
All I can say is if I've qualified for Olympia a few times, then I have absolute. Sass is a superior bodybuilder to me. So just do your thing, bro. Just keep your head on and do your thing.
I'm doing my best.
Absolutely.
Hopefully I can follow you in your footsteps.
100%.
Yeah, Sasan's very relaxed and very humble, but I'm pretty sure from what I've seen so far, especially the last two vids that Jay Magic Eye put out, you're going to do some damage, Sas. So thanks for coming on, mate. Much appreciated.
Hey, thank you.
I'll leave you alone for the rest of the week, and then I'll hit you about that guest spot situation. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for having me
Good
on.
luck, mate.
Thanks
Good
for
to see you, bro.
Good luck, man. Look
Some
forward
ass,
to
man.
seeing it. Yes, sir.
Kick ass.
Thanks a lot.
Kick ass, Sass.
Take care, Leroy. Good to see you again.
Take it easy,
Take care,
guys.
bro.
Look after
Bye-bye.
yourself. Stay safe.